This is Earl Hamner. When I was growing up in the hills of Virginia during the Great Depression, I never imagined I'd one day stand in a Hollywood studio telling the story of my own life on television. Back then, television as we know it didn't even exist. But this story, our story, began right here in this house and where my mother still lives. From as far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a writer. And I was told that to be a good one, you must write about what you love most. For me, that was my family. I wrote about them in my novel, Spencer's Mountain, and later in The Homecoming. That story became a CBS television special in 1971, and from it grew the series The Waltons, which premiered in the fall of 1972. Now, 10 years later, we look back, not just at a television show, but at a decade of shared memories, laughter, heartache, and love. Tonight, we celebrate a very special day, Grandma's birthday. The Walton children gather around the kitchen table with Mama, sorting through old photographs and letters for a birthday album. As they flip through the pages, memories come alive. We see John Boy writing love poetry to Marcia Woolery, his brothers and sisters barging into his room one by one, shattering his quiet. The Baldwin sisters lending him their typewriter so he could chase his dream. But this isn't just fiction. These moments echo my own childhood, shaped by hardship, yes, but also by deep family bonds. The Dust Bowl, polio, Mama lying in bed, stricken by illness. These were real fears in our world, and yet, through it all, there was hope. The photo album is finished. Mary Ellen wraps it carefully. Mama begins baking a birthday cake, and as the camera pans from the kitchen into the living room, something extraordinary happens. For the first time, you see me, Earl Hamner, standing alongside the Walton family, on the very set that brought my memories to life. This show was never meant to be just entertainment. From the beginning, we wanted each episode to build on the last, to honor continuity, to reflect real emotional growth. That wasn't common on television then, but we believed families deserved stories that respected their complexity and their values. Later, the family picnics by Drusilla's Pond, dreaming aloud. What would you do with $100,000? Erin tries to count how many birthdays they've shared. She asks Mama, "Which was your favorite?" Olivia smiles and remembers the year John Boy read her the poem, The Windhover. He told her it meant that even the simplest things in life hold a beauty as profound as anything grand or rare. Near the fireplace, I pause beside photos of Grandma and Grandpa. Too often, people over 50 are seen as over the hill, past their prime. But on the Waltons, older generations weren't sidelined. They were pillars, wise, loving, essential. We see the family wrestling with a painful question. What if we sold the house? What if we left Walton's Mountain? Grandma and Grandpa sit atop the mountain, reflecting on a lifetime together. John Boy watches his youngest siblings sleep and tells his parents he'd regret it if they never knew the magic of this place, their home. There are lighter moments too. Jim Bob sneaks a taste of Grandma's icing and asks if Corabeth is really family. "She's your daddy's second cousin," Mama says with a knowing look. Jim Bob heads to Ike's for lemons, but comes back empty-handed, hoping instead for a splash of the Baldwin recipe. And Olivia recalls her famous sit-down strike, when the children ignored their chores and she simply sat down until they understood. But home isn't just a place, it's a promise. When the Walton house catches fire, the family fights to save what they can. In the aftermath, Elizabeth confesses her fear. "If everything I love can disappear, maybe I shouldn't love anything at all." Yet love always finds a way back. Grandma arrives for her birthday supper. The family welcomes her with open arms. As they sit down to eat, Mary Ellen remembers her wedding photos and the rocky road that led to her marriage to Kurt. He disappeared, then returned, proposed awkwardly, and was met with, "I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man on earth." And yet, there they were, on their wedding day. Grandma recalls helping John Boy prepare a sermon, urging him to preach hellfire and brimstone like the old days. John remembers John Boy trying to warn the town about Hitler, only to face a community burning books in fear. It wasn't until they realized one of those books was the Bible in German that they stopped. And then, the hardest goodbye. John Boy sits on the porch steps, eyes fixed on a future in New York. His parents and grandpa watch silently, hearts heavy, knowing their eldest is about to step into the wide, uncertain world. At last, Grandma opens her gift. The first photo in the album is of her beloved Zeb. Mary Ellen shares a tender memory of Grandpa sneaking into the hospital after Esther's stroke, hiding behind a potted plant, until Kurt gently reminded him to let her rest. We remember real life, too. Ellen Corby, our grandma, suffered a stroke and was away from the show for nearly 2 years. When she returned, Grandma had to re-earn her place in the family, and Grandpa finally learned how to truly support her. Later, the family gathers around the piano and sings As Time Goes By. John and Olivia celebrate their 25th anniversary in a gazebo he built for her, on top of Walton Mountain. But time takes its toll. Between seasons 6 and 7, we lost Will Gear, our grandpa. He never saw the later chapters of the story. The family returns to his grave, cleaning the stones, sharing updates, as if he were still listening. After the party, John and Olivia tuck Grandma in for the night. They say goodnight and head upstairs. And then, I step into frame. Music swells gently. Now, in my office, something magical happens. Through the wonder of film, the Walton children meet their real-life counterparts, the Hamner family. Connie Kotler speaks with Nancy Hamner Jamerson, a wildlife biologist in Richmond. David Harper meets James Hamner, who still lives in our childhood home, and once brought home a peacock just like Jim Bob. John Walmsley visits Cliff Hamner, a father of 3, who loves music, though he admits he can't sing a note. Judy Norton reunited with Marion Hamner years ago, when Marion visited the set. A nurse, a painter, a golfer, and now a tour guide. Our original story had 8 siblings, but the network asked us to narrow it to 7. So Eric Scott's character became a blend of 2 brothers, Paul, who works in the shoe business in New Jersey, and Bill, living in Richmond with his 3 children. Audrey Hamner lives on a farm near Roanoke, mother of 5, and a Red Cross volunteer. Now I return to Virginia. The Blue Ridge Mountains rise in the distance. There's the Baptist church, the old shed, and the house where it all began. I walk up the front steps. My mother greets me at the door. We sit at the kitchen table, the same one from my childhood. People often ask her, "Were your children really as well behaved as the Waltons?" She chuckles and says, "Yes." I visit my father's grave. He passed in 1969, never saw the show that bore his spirit. I think of our forefathers, their resilience, their quiet strength. And then, I'm back. Not in memory, but on the set. I walk into the Walton kitchen, where the cast is gathered around the table. One by one, they say goodnight, not as John Boy or Mary Ellen, but by their real names. Because after 10 years, this wasn't just a show. It was a home, a family, a decade of love, remembered and shared.